This is a conversation with Daksh Jindal. He's the host of a popular YouTube and Instagram channel where he shares book recommendations and his amazing insights into developing a strong mindset and good habits. He works as an electronics engineer at Rolls-Royce in the UK with a degree in mechatronic engineering from the University of Manchester. If you're a stan of this show, then you'll be able to put together one and one and get three and realize that both Daksh and me studied at the same university and the same course, which is where I met Daksh for the first time. So it's been really fascinating to actually watch his evolution over the years. And I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to have this conversation with him. In this conversation, we discuss the benefits of reading, books that change his life, fiction versus nonfiction, the importance of spirituality and meditation, and developing a strong mindset, and also dealing with loss. This is No Time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Money can't buy you happiness, but it can definitely support this project. As some of you might know, I've relocated from Dubai to New York City, and New York is quite overwhelming in more ways than one. It's become even more challenging to put in the time and effort for this project and also the money because I'm not earning anymore, but I'm going to continue doing it because I'm very passionate about the vision of this project. In fact, I've invested in better equipment. So if not for anything else, you can put some respect on the hustle. So if you'd like to see this project continue, do consider making a donation on Patreon. Thank you to the people who continuously do so. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram or Twitter. You can subscribe on YouTube, of course. And you can also share these episodes only if you like it. Or you can also follow me personally. And now, it is no time. So Oscar Wilde once said that it is what you read when you don't have to that determines what you will be when you can't help it. So you've mentioned multiple times in the past that you weren't into reading, you weren't into books. And when you were young, you were more into cricket and Bollywood and you used to look up to role models and try to emulate them. And that was your form of learning. So my first question for you is, at what point did this transition happen? How did you get into reading and when?
So basically, this transition happened when I started working. I got my first job. And when you start earning, उस time पे, everyone, the whole education system teaches you on how to get to that stage, earning wali stage. But उस earning wali stage के बाद उस पैसे का क्या करना है, no one teaches you. So for me, money was simply like, at the start of my career, it was simply emulating other colleagues कि भाई clubbing जाओ, weekend पे spend करो, and थोड़ा बहुत invest करो इधर. But after doing it for a couple of years, I started asking कि life ये तो नहीं हो सकती मेरे को, because I saw कि people are working in this field for 40 years. And I was like कि am I going to do this for 40 years of my life? कि पूरा 5 दिन काम किया और weekend पे ऐसे spend करके enjoy किया बस. And once I started questioning, then मेरे दिमाग में एंड टीवी सीरीज भी थी उस टाइम पे. शर्लॉक होम्स बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट था मेरे दिमाग पे. अ जीनियस हु इज ट्राइंग टू मेक अ डिफरेंस इन दिस वर्ल्ड, हु इज ट्राइंग टू, उसकी लाइफ बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग लगती थी. हर केस कुछ ना कुछ उसकी लाइफ में बड़ा हैपनिंग सा लेकर आता था. तो उस टाइम पे शर्लॉक होम्स देखना बहुत शुरू किया और उस टाइम पे क्वेश्चनिंग भी आनी शुरू हो गई. तो मैंने ऐसे ही फिर लाइब्रेरी में, यहाँ पे बर्मिंघम की एक लाइब्रेरी थी एंड इट्स लाइक अ प्रॉपर मॉल मैन. तो मैं सोचा कि लेट्स गो इनटू द लाइब्रेरी एंड सी है क्या. एंड व्हेन आई वेंट टू द लाइब्रेरी, मैंने उसके ऊपर व्लॉग भी बनाया चैनल पे. ब्यूटीफुल लाइब्रेरी है ना. तो आई वाज कंप्लीटली ऑ स्ट्रक एंड फिर मैं फिक्शन सेक्शन में गया. चलो शेरलॉक होम्स तो खत्म हो गया, उसी से रिलेटेड कोई डिटेक्टिव नॉवल पिकअप करता हूँ सो दैट आई स्टिल गेट दैट फीलिंग. तो डिटेक्टिव नॉवल पिक करी. एंड इससे पहले भी मैंने रीडिंग ट्राई करी थी, एक दो बारी ट्राई करी थी. व्हेन फिजिक्स के ऊपर कोई बुक उठा ली थी. द प्रॉब्लम वाज कि मैंने बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग बुक्स उठा ली थी जो मैं कभी खत्म नहीं कर पाया. उसकी वजह से कभी कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आ पाया रीडिंग में. सो आई नेवर थॉट आई कुड बी अ रीडर. पर शेरलॉक होम्स वाला जो मोमेंटम था वो डिटेक्टिव नॉवल में कंटिन्यू हो गया. और वो मैंने डिटेक्टिव नॉवल उठाई एंड मैं घर पे आया एंड आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग. एंड वो नॉवल मैंने 2 रात में खत्म कर दी. एंड दैट गिव मी सो मच कॉन्फिडेंस कि मैं 350 पेज की बुक, 350 पेजेस की बुक आई वाज एबल टू फिनिश. आई वाज लाइक आई कैन डू एनीथिंग. Then I started reading more novels from that same series and it was really good. It was called Newbery and Hobbes, Adventures of Newbery and Hobbes. Pre-order करने लग गया था मैं उसकी जो नई कॉपीज आ रही थी. So I got fiction. So basically fiction grasped me. वो कहते हैं ना first read what you love till you love to read. तो मेरे साथ exactly वही हुआ कि I started reading what I was already loving, which was detective things, and then I started loving reading. And उसके बाद fiction के बाद धीरे धीरे I transitioned into biography. and biographies ke baad non-fiction, and it just kept on building up and building up and building up, and it was such a beautiful journey for me. And especially this one book called How to Make a Spaceship. That book completely changed my perspective about life. That was the first biography which I read. So that biography is actually about a very unknown person who has played a very big part behind the current space industry, Peter Diamandis. I don't know. Do you know about Peter Diamandis? Yeah. Where did you hear it?
I have heard of him, and I've heard you describe the book and your book review of it.
Okay.
But Daksh, just before we dive into that book, because I have a question about how to make a spaceship. Just before that, you mentioned something very interesting where you said, read what you love until you learn
Love to read. Yeah.
love to read.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Okay. So I just want to dive on this for a moment, and then we'll come to the books that you read and the content that you read in those books. Can you speak to the power of developing the habit of reading, because you're also into habit formation? And if you can just keep aside what book you're reading and what message it has and what ideas you got from it, do you think just developing the habit of reading, doesn't matter what it is, comic books, fiction books, has benefits in concentration and patience and knowledge retention that you can then apply to other aspects of your life?
Yes, very much. Agar if you are not interested in self help or motivational books, if you even simply read fiction books, so basically even Einstein used to say that if you want to make your child a genius, give him a fiction book, because it triggers your imagination so much. Fiction books, jitni bhi hamari movies, like all Marvel movies, all fairy tale movies, they are based on fiction books, and there is it's two completely different things. Watching everything made up into a movie, वहाँ पे you are not imagining anything. Someone has already given you everything on a platter. But once you are reading fiction book, you are creating that world inside your mind, which is creating new neural networks, which is such a important skill when you go further in your life, because these kind of fiction stories help you to look at things in very different ways, like very creative ways. So problem solving, mate, helps you a lot. Yes, as you said, concentration. Once you dive into books, it really engulfs you, and you are completely into that book for hours and hours, which is developing your focus and concentration muscle, which is a very very rare commodity in modern times. Because अगर आप average इंसान का आज के time का attention span देखोगे, is just 6 seconds. So imagine that 6 seconds, and here you are developing a skill, concentration skill, which can stay with you for hours and hours. You already become, you already stand out from the crowd just by reading fiction books, just by reading what you love. So it's a very important skill. Another thing it can help you with is it gives you a very good sleep. So if you read it before sleeping, your scrolling habit will go away. So it's very toxic to look at your phone before sleeping, because your phone keeps you stimulated all the time. It keeps your senses stimulated, because social media right now is filled with sexualized stuff, or filled with hyper successive stuff, making success very toxic with those fancy cars. And so it keeps you stimulated, and our body is not designed to be stimulated 24 hours. We don't give our body that time to relax, that time to calm down and just be in the moment. So books help you a lot in that, especially if you make it a nighttime habit. You'll get rid of your phone and during bedtime, and you will have one of the best sleeps of your night.
तो अगर चैन से सोना है तो get into reading,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
don't pick up the Sherlock Holmes wali book, क्योंकि that might keep you up all night, because it's such a great book. Okay, so let's return to what we were talking about earlier, but you were talking about how to make a spaceship. But let me make the question even tougher, because this is a show of tough questions. Yeah, Arnab Goswami se bhi tougher questions hai show mein, believe it or not. So time to give you the toughest question of this interview, which is, what are 5 books that have completely changed your life, and why?
5 books that have completely changed my life. I would say How to Make a Spaceship was one. First, I'll name all 5, and then I'll go deep into every book, okay? So How to Make a Spaceship was one. Second was Dreams from My Father, Barack Obama. And third was A Man's Search for Meaning. And fourth was Art of Happiness. And fifth was Courage to be Disliked. Okay. So first book, which was a completely game changer for me, How to Make a Spaceship, it made me realize that we people have so much potential, and we hardly achieve 10% of it in our lives. that guy in the book, basically it's a story of Peter Diamandis, and Peter Diamandis stimulated the whole space industry just by his will. He wanted to become an astronaut, but it turned out that he couldn't because he had some defect in his eyes. But he made sure that he made it easier for other people to become an astronaut. Now, how many people you have come across जो अपना सपना पूरा नहीं कर पाए, but then they dedicate their whole life to help other people achieve the same dream, make it easier for other people. So he stimulated the whole private space industry, and he started the SpaceX challenge, जिसमें he started this challenge. He didn't even have a single penny with himself, but he did some very good marketing. Ki whoever completes this challenge gets around $10 million to make their own spaceship and reach the Kalman line. Kalman line is basically where Earth finishes and space starts. So it would be very first privately built spaceship, and इससे पहले space सिर्फ पब्लिक गवर्नमेंट कंपनीज का ही वो था गेम, बिकॉज टैक्स मनी से ही आप स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन कर सकते थे. बट हियर दिस गाय सिंगल हैंडेडली ब्रॉट स्पेस इनटू प्राइवेट इंडस्ट्री, एंड सो मेनी पीपल गॉट इनटू दैट रेस. इंडिया से भी काफी सारे देयर वर पार्टिसिपेंट्स, बट दे कुडंट मेक इट टू द फाइनल स्टेज. बट द विनर ऑफ दैट कॉम्पिटिशन गेव अस वर्जिन अटलांटिक, which is going to be the future of space tourism kind of thing, the way they are making progress. And he even approached Elon Musk, and that time Elon Musk was even, Elon Musk supported him a lot, but he was working on his own project. SpaceX jab shuru hi hua tha when he approached Elon Musk. So because of him, people started dreaming of making their own spaceships. And there are so many different companies now in America itself who are trying to make their own launches for commercial satellites. So basically commercial satellites ko bhi space mein bhejna was very expensive till the time it was controlled by public agencies, government agencies. But अब privatized होने की वजह से rates are dropping down. Schools are sending satellites designed by kids just to inspire kids. Now imagine that. How cool is that? So because of this single guy, he started International Space University, जहाँ पे बच्चे आके their studies are very much focused towards becoming a space scientist or an astronaut, and his SpaceX is still running. It's still running, and it is still solving a lot of issues around the world. One of the modern issues was women safety in India. So SpaceX funded that issue as well, and there was a team which came up with an idea, and they won the SpaceX prize and everything. So it's a very good initiative, because the thing is, our society is run by a very capitalistic model कि जिसमें profit है, बस उसी में ही सारा labor और सारी energy use हो रही है. So you need some outside incentive कि people और लोगों की, so that people focus on other problems as well. सिर्फ एड क्लिकिंग पे हमारे ज्यादातर ब्रेन, जितने भी हमारे इंटेलिजेंट ब्रेन्स है, वो सब एड क्लिक करवाने पे लगे हुए हैं तुमसे. दे आर नॉट गेटिंग यूटिलाइज्ड एनीवेयर एल्स. सो SpaceX इज क्रिएटिंग दैट वेरी गुड इनिशिएटिव. सो just from his life, I learned that, okay, yes, life is not about just going to work and having fun on the weekend. He inspired me so much. Then उसके बाद ये belief मेरा और strong हो गया when I read Dreams from My Father, बराक ओबामा की जो book थी. So in that book, he's a very privileged American, like most of the Americans are, with the lifestyle and everything. And he went back to Kenya to visit his dad's side wali family, and he was just shocked. एक कमरे में 8 people are sleeping, and he realized how fortunate he was. And उस story से एक चीज जो मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा touch करी, when he was talking to his grandmom, and अपनी grandmom से बात कर रहा था, and they were talking about something emotional, and his grandmom told him कि before the Europeans came to Africa, there was no concept of rich or poor, because everyone had same things. But once people started seeing these white men coming in, people from West coming in wearing these nice suits, nice Walkmen, that is when people started realizing, oh my God, we are poor. So how, that simple material thing shifted the whole mindset of a community, and that's how the African community started worshipping actually the Western community. Okay, and then slave trading and everything started. But that incident shook Obama a lot, going to his native country and seeing what problems they are facing. So he came back and he was like, I'm going to do something for my community. And he worked a lot. He organized a lot of rallies for the rights of Black people. And in his book you can see even some of his biggest failures as well. Like इतनी बड़ी एक उसने gathering organized करी थी where the mayor was supposed to come, and the mayor came, stood there for 10 seconds, and one of the guys from the gathering shouted at the mayor in anger, and the mayor left. So all his hard work went to waste. जो उसने पूरी गैदरिंग, क्योंकि मेयर सिर्फ 10 सेकंड के लायक, मेयर को जिस चीज के लिए कन्विंस करना था उसके लिए वो लोग कर ही नहीं पाए. So he goes deep into his failures, but it's really touching that he didn't give up. कि मैं क्यों करूं इन लोगों के लिए who are who are not being sensible, कि कैसे हम नॉन वायलेंटली और बिना चीखे भी अपना काम करवा सकते हैं just by being peaceful. So really like his ideology, and he was very much a follower of Martin Luther King and very much influenced by Mahatma Gandhi and Malcolm X. So Mahatma Gandhi is a big influence on my life as well. And that is when I started questioning how can I solve some problems in India by sitting in UK. And I started my YouTube channel because I thought कि मैं उस time self help भी पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया था. तो I thought कि this knowledge is so crucial for people in India to learn and understand, and it can really help other people. And I saw कि YouTube पे there were already so many YouTube channels which were already summarizing books. So basically I saw there was a little gap कि book को summarize करना is a different thing, and लोगों को बताना how to actually implement things from those books in your own life is a very different thing, which no one was doing, because most of the readers, they read the book, बहुत अच्छी book थी, close the book and they pick up the next book. So no one is implementing even 10% of what they read. And this is where I thought ki I can improve my own life by implementing this stuff, and then talking about what all changes I saw, and then help inspiring other people to implement as well. So that was a very good push. Third book thi Art of Happiness. Art of Happiness was very it was a very, that book made me very emotionally strong, because that book made me realize the importance of humility and the importance of seeing everyone with an equal eye. So Dalai Lama talks, उसमें क्या है उस book में, basically there's this guy who goes to Dalai Lama and takes his interviews and asks him questions about every aspect of life, from losing people to how to maintain relationships, how to get over past everything. So what Dalai Lama said was that he opens up with everyone, and he opens up with everyone. He doesn't hide anything from anyone, because he believes that most of the humans are good by heart, good by nature, and they will never break your trust. Yes, 2 out of 10 people will, but that is kind of a tax you're paying to build 8 strong relationships. And that was a very much of a turning point in my life. I started becoming more social, and as it gave me a sense of freedom ki we are living in a very positive world, we are living in a very trustworthy world, you can open up with people, that is how I started becoming more vulnerable with my content as well. I started talking about everything in my life, like how I'm practicing no fap, or how I lost my dad, or all the struggles I went through when I was studying in UK, all the financial struggles. I started becoming more vulnerable. That book taught me that vulnerability connects people. It creates a very strong bond. कि अगर आप किसी के साथ vulnerable हो रहे हो, they start seeing you from a very trustworthy eye, and they start becoming vulnerable with you. And that is something which is helping me in my mentorship programs as well. Because in mentorship program, you need to create that bond so that people open up. जब तक लोग open up नहीं होंगे, I can't help them. So that has been very helpful. उसके बाद fourth book थी A Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning is a very stoic book. It's a very philosophical book. It's about there's a very funny incident about this book. So I was in the train and I was reading this book, and so this Indian air hostess comes and sit by my side, and she was like, "What are you reading?" And I was like, I'm reading this book about concentration camps. And I don't know if it's funny from my side or not, but she was like, concentration camps, oh, जहाँ पे yoga, meditation वगैरह होती है. I was like, not that. I was like, not that. That's the, I feel this simply shows the, how should I say, that people are still not aware of what happened in the World War. That is why we see a lot of right-wing movements springing up in so many countries, because people don't know what the world has already seen through right-wing movements. Because अगर हम इंडिया में भी जाए तो यस हमें हिस्ट्री पढ़ाई जाती है, पर वहाँ पर हमें बस पूरा टाइम यही सिखाया जाता है कि how how innocent Indian people were and how they were ruled by so many dynasties. But we are never taught the important moral lessons from history, from Western history, especially I would say कि जो वर्ल्ड वॉर्स हुई थी दे हैव अ लॉट ऑफ मॉरल लेसन्स. हमारी इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट में भी बहुत सारे मॉरल लेसन्स थे. बट अगेन मेरे को ये लगा है कि आज तक हमने इंडिया के बारे में जितना भी पढ़ा है, एंड में सिर्फ यही फीलिंग आ रही है कि मेरा देश कितना महान था एंड एवरीवन केम एंड लूटेड माय कंट्री. That is the only feeling and the only thing I remember after studying all the history from my childhood. But I feel कि educating people about modern history, especially ये 20th century में हुई है वर्ल्ड वॉर, ज़्यादा पीछे की भी नहीं है. It's very, very important. So in that book, basically the main guy who's in the Viktor Frankl, Dr. Viktor Frankl, he loses everyone from his family, and he's put in a concentration camp. He sees optimistic people dying in front of him. And that is where it showed me how optimism can go toxic as well. क्योंकि optimistic people used to think next Christmas से पहले we'll get out. Next Christmas आ जाता था, but they never got out. And they started losing hope. Whereas not pessimistic, but people who soaked in the reality that this is not in our control. The only thing in our control is just survive. We don't know when we are going to get out. So that was very touching, that even if you lose everything in your life, that gives you courage as well. Even if you lose everything in your life, you can still find meaning through your mind, through your skills, and through your labor. And this is one thing which I picked up from that book. I don't know if all those books made sense. Any questions? Any thoughts?
It makes a lot of sense, and it is, let me say, a very concise and interesting review of each book, because you were very keen on highlighting how we can actually learn from it and implement in our life, which like you mentioned, not many people do.
Yeah.
Online. They only review the book अच्छी थी, इसका tone अच्छा था, पसंद आया,
Yeah.
5 out of 5, move on to the next book. But I must really point out कि even the books that I've read, you have pointed out so many ways of implementing my life that I haven't thought about before. And on that, when you were talking about the Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, मुझे याद आया कि just like you had an incident with the air hostess in the train, मैंने जब वो book पढ़ी थी, I had given it to my father as well. And in fact, not just him, even me, we know of the Holocaust, we know of the atrocities, we know of the Weimar Republic. हमको numbers पता है कि हिटलर ने कितनी lives लिए, that used to happen. But to truly experience it and to truly immerse yourself, you need to pick up a book that actually depicts what happened there. Yeah, watch a movie like Schindler's List.
Yeah,
मुझे
oh my
तब
God.
realize हुआ, तब जाके realize हुआ कि that is the extent, कि there is a whole story within those numbers. Ki sure, 10 million lives were lost, just a number I'm throwing out. But what exactly happened there? I think these books are really powerful ways of
What was your
that.
dad's reaction?
So once again, my dad's reaction, I remember it today, because I think midway through the book, he came to me and he was like कि मुझे हमेशा idea था कि हिटलर ने क्या wasn't a good guy, was quite evil, उसने काफी lives लिए, but मुझे कभी ये idea नहीं था कि the kind of even difficulty is the wrong word, but the kind of hardships people were facing in those concentration camps. He was like, I never knew, and now it's really making me feel like that was a huge calamity in human history. So yeah, I always remember that if there was any moment of the power of books, the key learning and the takeaways, that was one moment that stood out to me. So in that spirit, I actually want to ask you the next question.
Let me ask you a question first. What are your...
Okay, this is not how the show works, but go ahead.
No, I'm really curious. What are the 5 books that impacted you?
Oh, Daksh, you'll have to call me on your podcast for that.
No, just name them. Just name them.
Interesting. So I should have actually thought of this. I should have anticipated that you might ask me this question in return. Okay, so I will definitely put Thinking Fast and Slow. Daniel Kahneman.
Very good book.
Yeah, it was a very interesting book that dissected how your subconscious mind works. He calls it part 1, part 2 of your mind. And it really changed the way I view free will, firstly, and also the way I make decisions. कि whether I'm making it impulsively on my monkey mind or whether I'm actually overthinking it as well, and really review gut instinct as well. So thinking fast and slow would be one. Just for pure respect to my childhood fantasies, I would give Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. I'll put both of them together. मैंने अपनी पूरा childhood मैंने Harry Potter और Lord of the Rings पढ़ते reread किया है उनको 40-50 times, never got tired of it. And really, I must say, those books really taught me a lot about. Lord of the Rings was good about history, medieval history, politics, and a lot of inspirations from Greek mythology, Roman mythology as well. And Harry Potter also, it was a very interesting way of talking about key issues like racism, xenophobia, especially in the UK as well, through a children's book. So I thought it's very interesting. I'll put Cosmos by Carl Sagan in that list as well. Fantastic book. Yeah. And I'm someone who loves cosmology, astronomy, but the way Carl Sagan wrote about it in a very poetic manner, he used to introduce every chapter with these amazing illustrations and poems. It made science fun. And that's what I really enjoy about these books. Okay. So I've given you 3. बाकी 2 के लिए you'll have to stay tuned.
अच्छा, एक और last, okay. So why didn't you do a master's in cosmology or science? Because मैंने podcast भी देखे हैं तेरे. Your podcasts are, I've seen a lot of episodes which are completely dedicated to science. So why didn't you think of going into that field?
Yeah. That's a great question, Daksh. And once again, I must say you are running out of the opportunity to ask me questions. This is not how the interview works.
Okay, last question.
I will definitely last question. But I will definitely answer this. I am very interested in cosmology and astrophysics as well. But in terms of doing a master's, to get into a good university, you need to have some background in it. And that's where I felt my deterrent was. And also, master's is just an excuse to do other things. I feel if you really want to learn about something, what you're really passionate about, probably adding a university setting into it and adding assignments and deliverables and adding lectures might make me hate it a bit more. Because I remember जो भी चीजें मैंने school में किया जिसका exam देना पड़ा, I lost my love for it a bit. And then when I came back into the working space for it, that's when I regained that passion. So my intention is to actually combine all my profile so far, robotics में जितना किया है, अभी data science में जितना होगा, into a company that actually works in space technology. That would be great. But SpaceX अभी तक international students को visa नहीं देता. So shout out Elon Musk if you're watching. please visa de dena. Okay.
I'm very surprised.
So that was your last question.
Okay.
Sorry?
I'm very surprised NASA, because there are so many Indian engineers in NASA, and SpaceX is, surviving without Indian engineers, like Indian origin engineers. That's like very surprising.
Yeah. Elon Musk, I know you're watching. Bro, make it happen. Okay. So Daksh, you have exhausted all your questions for the interview. And now we'll go back to our normal format, which is I'll be the one asking the questions and you'll be the one answering. Okay. So you mentioned how you first got into reading. You got into reading fiction books, and Sherlock Holmes played a huge role in that. And you felt very good. But then some of your more recent videos, you mentioned that after a while you got bored of reading fiction, and that's when you moved into reading biographies. And then you started reading a lot of nonfiction. In one of your more recent videos, you left a comment in which you said, I haven't found a purpose yet to take up reading fiction books again. You never know, I might later in life. So currently you just read 1 out of 5. If you read 5 books in a month, 1 book is a fiction book. And that is also to get your mind off things, bring the change out, and bring some diversity into your collection as well. So keeping that in mind, Jordan Peterson, who I'm sure you're very well aware of, clinical psychologist, he often talks about the power of storytelling. And he says that he gives religion as an example, where he says that stories have this evolutionary benefit of being able to condense really complex ideas of morality and ethics into these simple stories that have easy repeatability, good narrative about good over evil, and that can survive over generations. And it's a very strong, powerful medium of conveying these ideas. So that's Jordan Peterson's idea. And then what I want to check with you is, do you think there's merit to that argument? Do you think it's possible that a person can read just only fiction all his life and still gain a lot out of it? Or do you feel like there'll always be a much higher return on investment from just reading non-fiction books?
I feel if you're reading fiction, मैंने इसका आंसर शायद Q&A में भी दिया था, like people ask me, is fiction worth reading? So I said कि if you are reading fiction just for entertainment, yes, it will still help you subconsciously, because whatever time you spend your concentration is in, especially when it's rewiring your brain and you're building those characters in your mind and everything. But this is what these are my point of views. I don't know if there's been a scientific research or not behind this, but what I feel is, but if you just read it just for entertainment, then I think it won't give you as much benefits as possible. Like, for example, if you look at Harry Potter, for example, okay, so if you see Harry Potter, it goes so deep into concepts of friendship, trusting each other, and sacrificing for each other. But people watch it for magic. you know Most people watch it for magic. So this is what I feel, where fiction is a very gray area, where most people watch it for entertainment rather than thinking deep about those relationship building, that politics, that sacrifice, thinking more about those concepts. And if you are reading it just from that entertainment point of view, then it's of no use, because Harry Potter is much more than just magic. Okay, so this is where yes, storytelling is a very, very important skill. And if your fiction reading is very, it has a purpose behind it, that why are you reading fiction? For example, I'm a lonely guy who doesn't have friends and I want to make friends through fiction books. I have a purpose behind it. Okay, so I will try to soak in more from those books. I will try to attach myself more with the actions rather than just the glamour of fiction. And this is where I feel religion, especially in India, has gone wrong as well. Ki I don't know if Ramji, Krishnji, all these Indian lords, they were real or not, but they have some very nice stories behind them, and people remember their actions. Ki Ramji ne Ravan ko mara, Krishnji, he picked up a whole mountain with his fingers, and those kind of actions give people dopamine. Oh my God, our gods are so great. But they don't think about the reason behind those actions. They don't spend time discussing the reason behind those actions. For example, it could be a simple debate ki was killing Ravan a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, this can be such a good philosophical debate, but people won't get into it because it's very uncomfortable and they just want to get dopamine out of a closure. And this is where I feel non-fiction helps, because non-fiction focuses on the reasons behind those actions. For example, if you pick up you connect more with those reasons rather than just the glamour of Obama becoming the president. You will focus on his journey, like how much failures he dealt in his life and all the rejections and what was his career ladder. Because it feels more real to you, you try to focus more on the journey rather than just getting the dopamine out of that final result. Oh my God, he's the president. That's where I feel fiction and non-fiction differ from my point of view. I don't know, what do you feel?
Sorry, Daksh, you're out of questions. But
Your opinions,
I
your
must
thoughts,
say,
yeah.
it's a very interesting point you raise. That when you read fiction, it's more important to focus on what the learnings are and what the message is in the book rather than the actual actions, which normally in fiction books has been glorified or exaggerated to a certain extent and is usually there to drive a certain point. So it's more important to focus on the point rather than how cool a character is or what event that they've done. I think it
Exactly.
is a very fair point taken. Uh, and that's all I will comment on it
No, recently
so
I
far.
watched Shrek. Recently I've started watching the Shrek series. Okay. And now I watch it from the point of view I told you, the reason behind those action. And it makes so much sense that they're trying to provide so much meaning to people, to younger kids especially. But I don't think younger kids are, or the parents of those younger kids are, that involved in the movie to pull out those lessons to tell their kids, okay, why did Shrek did that? Why did Shrek do that? The reason behind it. It's more about, things get over glorified in their minds. That's what I feel. But yeah, it was a very good question. Very good question, man. Especially the way you dug up my comment from, I don't know which video did I comment it on. The way you have dug up, it's like you've done proper homework.
Yeah, I've got a team of interns that work on the show, so they do all the work. I don't do it. But definitely a good suggestion. Parents, this is a good exercise to have. If your child is watching cartoons, it can be any cartoon, but make sure that you can dive into why characters are doing certain things, and then you can dive further into psychology of it. And hopefully there might be some key takeaways. Okay. So Daksh, there's a lot to cover. So I will not be answering any more of your questions.
Okay.
You'll be the one answering.
Okay, I'll try to
Okay.
control
So let's
myself.
move into yeah, please do. So let's move into developing a strong mindset. This is another field that you focus quite a lot. Blaise Pascal had said that all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. You've been a strong advocate for developing a strong mindset, and you've used meditation as one of the tools to reach that goal. So let me start off with a very dumb question. What is meditation, and what forms of meditation work for you?
So for me, meditation is very simple, taking control of your consciousness, especially in this in the modern era where we are fighting to keep our attention with ourselves, and everyone else is fighting to get our attention. We both are fighting to get people's attention through our content. So it's a very important skill to take hold of your attention and use it to create a life that you want for yourself, rather than what the advertisers and what people want you to buy and build a certain life, certain kind of a lifestyle. So for me, meditation simply, like every morning, I just sit down for 15 minutes and I meditate, and I just close my eyes and I try to focus. I let my mind think in any direction it goes, but then I try to bring my focus into a simple mantra that it's a very made up mantra that I brought up myself, and I believe in it very strongly, that the world belongs to me and I belong to the world. It's like the world is inside me and I'm inside the world. I'm not separate. So this mantra always reminds me that I'm connected to every single thing on this planet, and every single thing is connected to me. And this has helped me a lot, because the thing is whenever you start, especially whenever you start your entrepreneurship journey or any new journey, in this in this where we are reading news about 25-year-old becoming millionaire, 20-year-old becoming millionaire, lack of patience is killing a lot of dreams, I feel. So meditation has helped me a lot in realizing that everyone is connected to you, you are connected to everyone, you are having a ripple effect. And this effect might not be visible in the short term, but it will always be visible in the long term, because you are connected to everyone. And it helps me to see world in a long term perspective rather than a short term perspective. This is one thing. Second thing is, it helps me to control my impulses. Like during the day, if I get impulses, if I get impulse of anger, if I get impulse of anything, you won't notice it in 1 or 2 days of meditation, but you do it when you do it regularly. You will see that you are able to take that 5 seconds before you get angry and think about it. Do I need to get angry? And then suddenly your anger disappears. So it creates that 5 second barrier between you and your impulsive emotions. And this is a very important thing that meditation does to you, because if you are a slave to your impulses, you are a slave to the advertising industry. They can sell you whatever they want. You are a slave to the news. Any bad news will put you off so badly, and you will go into panic mode, especially in America, making their own bunkers, storing their own food. And especially, like, everything is sexualized as well on internet. So if you lose your impulses, you can make some grave mistakes that can cost you a lot of things. Okay, so having that 5 second barrier between you and your impulses is very, very important. And this is what meditation will help you to build subconsciously over a long period of time. You won't get results there and then. So number one was developing patience. It helped me become very patient, especially that mantra reminds me every time that I am making a change. Even if it's a small level, I am making a change. And secondly, it helps me create that 5 second barrier between me and my emotions, which is very, very powerful to create your own life.
I find a very interesting contrast in the work you do. I would love to explore that further. So, on one hand, you dive very deep into spirituality, meditation, mindfulness. And like you've spoken about, it helps you create this 5 second barrier between you and your impulses. And I've noticed that in all these practices, it involves you detaching yourself from your sense or your identity in a way. Because when you're able to do that in mindfulness and meditation in particular, you become a passive observer to your own mind. And as a result, like you said, you put this barrier between you and your impulses and your thoughts. And another aspect is when you actually be able to detach from your identity, you're able to detach from all the stress and anxiety that comes with it, the ego and pride that comes with it. And this entire notion that maybe you're not the center of the universe. And then you're compounding your stress and anxiety because of that. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, you of course you work in self-help, habit formation, growth mindset, and inspiring people to become better versions of themselves. And I feel like in these practices, you need to have a very strong connection with your own identity, because if I want to improve from who I was yesterday, then I need to have a grounded frame of reference of who I am today and have some self-esteem, have some pride in what I do, and then be able to work on that and improve that the next day. So do you find this contrast? Do you often find a tension between these two? Because whenever I've tried to dive into spirituality, I often find that, okay, maybe I should dissociate from identity. But that can, if you can go too extreme into that, then maybe you'll never, since your identity doesn't mean anything, you become a passive observer. Then you might feel like, okay, should I really even read this book? Should I even improve myself? What does it matter in the bigger scheme of things? And nihilism starts to creep in. Is this something that you struggle with as well?
Yeah, I think yeah, a lot of people get confused with this. If you take a spiritual journey, the only way is to dissociate from your identity and become a monk kind of thing. But like especially like I believe in Bhagavad Gita a lot. The lessons which Bhagavad Gita teaches you. So Bhagavad Gita tells you there are two ways of enlightenment. One way is completely disassociating from your identity, completely giving up everything which pleases your senses and becoming a monk. But the other way, which it talks about, which I strongly believe in, which I feel I will follow all of my life, is karma yoga. So basically, karma yoga means doing what you are good at, and you don't care about the results. Okay, just focus on the work. And to focus on the work, you need to control your impulses. Okay, for example, if I want to make a YouTube video consistently every week, and my friends are going out, I get that impulse ki they are gonna go out, go to club, they're gonna have a good time, and I'm here writing a script, shooting a video, editing, and that barrier between that impulse brings me back to my work. So this is where I use meditation. So I am following the path of karma yoga, and karma yoga doesn't mean to disassociate with yourself completely from your identity. It actually means to amplify your work by disassociating from your impulses. you know as you know, the more control you have over your impulses, the more energy you can focus towards your own goal. So my goal right now is, I can see like what my karma yoga is bringing out of me is that my words are helping people, my experiences are helping people, what I say, what I write is helping people, and the more I do it, the more impact I will create, the more people I will help. So I'm not disassociating from that identity that I can write well, I can speak well. I'm trying to amplify that identity and follow that path of karma yoga without expecting anything in return. And to do that, I need to stay away from impulsive behavior. If I'm running a mentorship program and if a student doesn't follow the program for 2 weeks, if I get angry with it, then there's no point of me running a mentorship program. If I can't handle my own mindset, I can't handle my own impulses, I can never help someone else to do the same. So this is how I see spirituality. When you are doing karma yoga, spirituality becomes a tool to help you do your karma yoga better. But if you are not doing karma yoga, if you are doing the first path, which is called sannyas yoga, you know, you are completely dissociating yourself from the world. So because meditation should have a purpose. Why do you want to do meditation? And very few people know that. And what media has amplified is that there is some kind of white light or a magical light which you see, and the enlightenment which you get from meditation. That kind of meditation people focus on. But that kind of meditation is for monks. You need to do that kind of meditation for hours and hours. The purpose behind that meditation is to explore the full capabilities of your mind and your body. The big sadhus and the big meditators, they are able to survive just on air and water all their life, because they have completely explored all the possibilities of their body and mind. Their body is basically doing photosynthesis. which plants does. If you want to take that path, that is one path. But if you want to contribute towards the society, if you want to, work, stay in the society, then spirituality becomes a tool, not the path.
Got it.
Okay,
That's
this
a very
is
clear
this is
distinction.
so this is where I
Yeah.
see spirituality. I see it as a tool. I don't take it too seriously. I do meet so many spiritual fanatics who go so deep into, I don't know how do I say, I met an alien and all that kind of stuff. And okay, I won't say that they didn't. They might have, but how is it helping you with your karma yoga? I've seen people neglecting. If you have taken a responsibility of being a husband, being a father, then it is your responsibility to fulfill that duty. You can't, suddenly, you can't let that spiritual side completely derail your responsibilities which you have taken up in this world. Either you don't take the responsibility and completely go towards the spiritual path, or if you have taken responsibilities, then have that barrier, have boundaries, and use spirituality just as a tool to make your life better.
Have that boundary, have a very fine balance. I think that that's a clear distinction. Right. So you are a robotics engineer by day and you
Yeah.
work in cutting edge technology. A lot of people say this is the field of the future. A lot of perks, a lot of incentives for people who will excel in this field, who will be experts as we move into a more automated phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what I want to check with you is when you do this as your day job, and then on the side, you also deep into spirituality and wisdom, and also, of course, meditation as well. What is your current relationship with money and also your current relationship with success in the conventional definition of success?
Okay. So my current, like when I started working, when I came to UK, for me, success was settling down in UK, getting a British passport, having a nice house, and living my life here. But once I did all that, I bought my own house, I had everything. I felt how temporary it was. It was just like buying a new iPhone and then there's a new model coming out. And I was like, oh my God, this was such a big illusion. And this is not something, this is how I see my life if I stay as an engineer in UK. A bigger house, a better car, a bigger house, a better car. More kids, sending them to school, getting old. As simple as that. Okay. And I'm just working as an engineer. This is what success for me was. But after reading all the biographies, it completely flipped for me. That success was actually finding out your strength, which you do very fluidly, which you do very easily, but it creates a very good impact on the society. And everyone has that strength some way or the other, because everyone is, especially as kids, when our brain is trying to absorb everything from here and there, every person, due to the way they are brought up, the environment they're brought up, everyone is brought up in a unique environment. So everyone develops that unconscious skill in them, which they haven't explored, but they can do it easily. And other people are surprised, how can you do it? So I found that skill of mine. I started making YouTube videos, and YouTube videos went well. I didn't know the reason behind it. I never knew. I thought, okay, maybe these books are very good. That is why videos are doing very good. But then one day I went to a YouTube video and I made a comment on that YouTube video. And my comment got so many likes and it became the top comment for that YouTube video. And I realized, oh my God, so it was my writing which was helping me with YouTube. And it is my writing which has, made such an impact on that comment box. So I found out that, okay, I'm able to write some stuff which is impacting people, and this is my strength, and this is where I started working on. And then all spirituality and biographies came in, that you should work to your strength and try to create as much impact on the world as possible. So for example, one of my ex-girlfriends, like, writing helped me in my personal life as well. Okay, especially if you are in a long distance relationship, you can just make people imagine things. Okay, so my ex-girlfriend used to tell me that you should write erotic novels, but I never took it seriously. I was like, no, I'm never gonna do that. But you get those hints here and there about your strength through different sources. Ki, okay, you have this strength and you are doing it nicely. Even that time I got a hint, but I never took it seriously. But once that comment got a lot of likes, that's when I realized, okay, yes, my writing, people do connect with it, and I should start doing it more often on Instagram maybe. And that's where, and now for me, success is to read as much as possible and to put out that information first by implementing it in my own life, and then telling people how to implement it through my writing and through my video content. That has become the success, that has become the definition of success, and doing it consistently for at least 20 years of my life. So this is what the definition of success has become. I have a lot of goals with this, how to create maximum impact, not just through YouTube, Instagram. There are further goals, but everything comes back to writing. So this is what success has become for me. I'm trying to use this skill to create an impact in the world without worrying about money. And now your second question was, what is my relationship with money? For me, one thing which I realized was that what actually, if we go back to the ancient time when there was no money, it was barter system. I give you a shoe, you give me a t-shirt, kind of thing. Okay. And money came in the middle because if we wanted to make the system easier, and the credit system was supposed to come in to help people more prosper. But what happened was, to get more t-shirts from you, I should make more shoes. Okay, because that is my skill. But people started focusing on making more money instead of making more value. And that is where things derailed completely, and the mindsets of people derailed completely. That why should I make more shoes when I can make more money by doing this, by investing in Bitcoin, by investing in that. So once you take your attention off from providing value to the society, you have shut down that door of fulfillment, because human beings are wired to feel good by helping each other. And once you have stopped, completely shut that door out, no matter if even if you get $1 million, you won't feel happy. One of my uncles in India, he earns around 30,000 pounds a month. 30,000 pounds a month. That's my yearly salary he earns in a month. And he and his kids are not satisfied, are not happy, and they still wonder what's the meaning of life. He's eating 18 medicines every day. His body's completely, he's surviving on medicines right now. But still his mind is all about making money. That providing value factor has completely gone out of today's culture. And once I realized this, it it completely killed the fear of poverty out of my mind, because I realized कि if I have a basic level of education, मैं तो maths teacher बन के भी पैसे कमा लूंगा. I can provide value to students through my math skills. So that completely took out the concept of poverty from my mind. So as long as I'm providing value, I'll always get money. And once I get money, I should make it grow by helping other people out. Like even my investments, I look at investments as giving money to companies which are going to make planet better in next 10 to 20 years. That way, I'm not looking at my investments every day कि कितना परसेंट बढ़ा. That way, I just invest and I forget. I'm like कि अगर डूब गया तो डूब गया. अगर बढ़ गया, it'll be good for the planet. But I know I'm giving it to good companies. ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं आंख बंद करके किसी भी कंपनी को पैसे दे देता हूँ. I do my fundamental research that their product is fundamentally good. They have a good board, sound CEO, and their product is going to make a positive impact in the world. So then I give money आंख बंद करके कि okay, this company is going to do good. ये मेरी तरफ से donation है. If it grows, well and good. If it goes down, it's fine. So for me, money is simply providing value to the society and something you get in return.
Very good strategy for investing in a company. This is something Peter Thiel also has specified in the book Zero to One. So find a lot of similar, both great minds think alike, clearly. And
No,
when you were talking about,
I learned it from his book.
I learned, or maybe he learned it from you. We never know. So while you were also talking about getting hints from people about what things you like and things you're good at, I want to ask you, so you've successfully taught engineering level robotics and coding to a lot of high school children. And we know that's a very difficult task, because teaching engineering level robotics to engineering level students was terribly hard. And but you're able to do that for high school students instead, and you're able to do that successfully. So while you must have taught a lot of new ideas to these young kids, what I want to check with you is, what have those young children taught you instead? When you were interacting with them, Did they do or say anything that really changed the way you approach any aspect of your life?
Yeah, it's a very cliche thing. Like when you look at kids, they are filled with energy the whole day. And the reason behind that is they are not thinking about the future, they are not thinking about the past, they are in the present. And if you want to learn how to live in the present, just spend time with kids. And when they are working, especially, I give single project to 10 kids, and those 10 kids give me different results. एक ही रिजल्ट आना चाहिए, एक ही चीज दी है मैंने, बट 10 जगह से 10 तरह के रिजल्ट आते हैं. किसी का बहुत मीडियोकर एकदम बेसिक रिजल्ट आता है, किसी का इतना आर्टिस्टिक रिजल्ट आता है, किसी का आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स रिजल्ट आता है. तो वहीं पे आई स्टार्टेड फिगरिंग आउट कि हाउ किड्स आर नॉट अफ्रेड टू ट्राई different things. Like if we get into school or college, if they give us some task, we will do it in a particular way, otherwise we won't get marks, and we get scared. But kids are not scared of that failure, and that is when they give such I feel that putting responsibilities on kids, I feel that thing is very underrated. If we start employing kids who are like 10, 12 years old, we can get some very wonderful ideas from them, because they are not scared. They are not scared of failure. They are not scared of getting, shouted down by the boss. They are not scared of not getting their salary for next month and not paying their bills. Their parents are doing that for them. So their mind is completely open to suggest you everything that comes into their mind. And that was something which I picked up into myself as well, especially combining it with the attention I gave to money. When the concept of money cleared out in my mind and what I learned from the kids, it has helped me a lot in my own content creation. That, like, I made a recent content on NoFap. I made a reel on NoFap. I wouldn't have made it like 4 or 5 years back. I would have never dared to make such a video. I know my brother, sister, everyone is following me on that platform. But I wasn't scared. And I still see myself as that, kid who's trying things, who's putting out new things, and he's not scared of failure. He's not scared of getting bogged down or shouted at, and he's just doing what he wants to do. So this is something which I learned a lot, living in the present from the kids and not being scared of failures. They just don't have any fear.
A lot of companies that are looking for consultants
Yeah.
should hire kids, not of these senior analysts, and that also save a lot on the budget as well.
I'm very serious. I'm very serious. Like, kids are very underrated. They are very underrated.
Definitely a business opportunity here. So if you do start a business where you make children consultants for big companies, I'll be investing in your product, Daksh, for sure. I want to be mindful of your time, but just before we start wrapping up, I have a very important segment that I wanted to cover with you. Confucius had said that every person has two lives, and the second one begins when he realizes that he just has one. You've recently experienced a major loss in your life, the loss of your father, and you've been quite vocal about how you handle that loss. It's a very powerful story, and I hope people who are in similar situations can also get a lot of strength from it. So we are all very thankful that you shared it and you exposed a vulnerable side. And I know it was a very difficult phase for you, but you were able to share that and help people from that phase as well. One thing I want to check with you is when you were dealing with that loss, when you were processing that loss, did it at that point make you contemplate mortality as an idea, as a concept? Did it change the way you view life and also change your perception of death and what happens when we die?
Yeah, very, very good question. So basically, when I got the news, I cried a lot, like a normal human would, pain of loss. But I had read everything about mortality, but it had never hit me that bad, because, reading and experiencing something are completely two different things. But once I experienced it, it was very shattering for me. It wasn't easy to soak in. So I was about to go to India, and I knew I'm the eldest kid in the world, and like in all Indian traditions, you take up all the responsibilities and you handle the family. And I knew all those things are going to come to me. So I spent my whole flight reading the philosophy from letters from Seneca. I and those letters from Seneca gave me so much strength, made me contemplate about life so much, that by the time I landed, I was mentally prepared to handle the whole situation. And basically letters of Seneca, especially the ending of Seneca, how his life ended, and how he had to commit suicide because he was ordered by the Emperor Nero, I guess, at that time, and his wife committed suicide with him and everything, and how he viewed as at life, and how he used to talk about death is the only truth of life. Okay. And that actually sunk into me during that flight. And when I got to India, that is when I started my mentorship program, because my father passing away told me that nothing is fixed, nothing is temporary. The mentorship programs you think about, the libraries you think about, the books you want to write, everything, if you don't start now, no one can guarantee you what's going to come next. And the other thing which really helped me was Bhagavad Gita. Again, I'll come back to Bhagavad Gita, because Lord Krishna, who spoke the whole Bhagavad Gita, he never survived. He wasn't an immortal. He left the planet. Lord Rama, he wasn't an immortal. He left the planet. I started thinking about all the great people, Mahatma Gandhi, Barack Obama, all of them, they did great work, but in the end, they left the planet. So this normalized death in my mind, that my dad was born on the same planet as Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, and he left the same way as they did. So there is nothing big about it, and you are going to leave the planet one day as well. So the only thing you can do right now is be thankful of all the memories you had with him. Be thankful you spent so much time with him. There are so many people in the orphanage who had never seen their parents, but you spent 20 to 21 years of your life, which is a very big gift. This is what I told my brother as well, that be thankful you spent 12 to 14 years with dad. Okay. So philosophy helped me a lot. Indian philosophy and Stoic philosophy made me so mentally strong during that time, and I was able to take up all those responsibilities. And I don't know if I've answered your question or if I've derailed completely.
You have.
I okay, yeah. So yeah, basically I took that big leap of starting my mentorship program, and it actually now the before that I used to say that I will be moving back to India by 2024, 2025. But now moving back to India became sooner. Everything suddenly became so quick that okay, you're going to move back in next year. You need to start pushing things up. You need to become more serious about this content creation. And yeah, the my dad passing away taught me a lot of things, how to deal with the situation, and made me realize how, don't take every day for granted ki kal kar lunga, kal mentorship program. I've been procrastinating with this mentorship programs for last 6 months or so, but that incident actually gave me the kick to start it.
That's a very powerful story, once again, and very powerful insight that you've shared. And I really hope that people who are in similar situations can find strength from your story as well. So, really, thank you for sharing that. Let's start wrapping up because I want to be mindful of your time, of course. So, final few questions for you. You've already spoken about the books that have had a major impact in your life. Let's also touch upon some other sources of inspiration. So, what are some movies or role models that have also positively influenced you?
Movies and role models, I would say Sherlock Holmes again. Sherlock Holmes, you know, that guy who's trying to find details in life. उसका जो वो detail observing pattern था, that has been so impressive, and that is one of the reasons which I watch Sherlock Holmes again and again, just to learn from his detail observing pattern. And what detail observing pattern helps me a lot psychologically as well. ये नहीं कि मैं शरद को देख के बता दूंगा उसने आज क्या खाया है, क्या पिया है, सब कुछ ये मैं शेरलॉक होम्स नहीं बन सकता, बट एटलीस्ट आई कैन ऑब्जर्व the tone of your voice. I can observe the words you are using. I can observe where you're coming from. It makes me a little more mindful. And this helps me a lot in my mentorship program as well as in my Q&As, which I do. You know that where people are coming from. Why would they be asking such questions? So Sherlock Holmes, number one. Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi ji, I'm a biggest believer in his truth and non-violence. That those two things can really change the world. And I read his 1400-page biography by Ramchandra Guha, and it was an epic journey into Indian history, into his mindset, into all the controversies he had to go through. But that story made me realize that life is not about success. It's about failing for a big cause. So Mahatma Gandhi, I see him as one of the biggest failures for one of the biggest causes. So basically, Mahatma, if you read his biography, you will understand that yes, getting independence was on his list, but his top priority was to unite India, to unite Hindus and Muslims, and to unite all the caste, all the caste within Hindu society. Because he knew that even if we get independence, if we are not united enough, India will be in chaos. And that is why his top priority was to unite India, and he spent all his life like there was constitution that was being written in the parliament. जब British जाने ही वाले थे, they were drafting the constitution, and गांधी जी वहां पर नोआखली में बैठे हैं बंगाल में, एंड नेहरू जी उनसे पूछ रहे हैं कि आप वहां गांव में क्यों बैठे हो, आप इधर आओ हमारे साथ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लिखवाओ इंडिया का, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. बट गांधी जी न्यू कि अगर मैं नोआखली में नहीं बैठा, वहां पे मैंने हिंदू मुस्लिम की फाइट नहीं रुकवाई, इट विल स्प्रेड, एंड वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन किसी काम का नहीं है. So he didn't want the fame or glory of being the guy who guided the constitution. He lived for his purpose to unite India through truth and non-violence, and he failed in it. आज भी हिंदू मुस्लिम इंडिया में यूनाइटेड नहीं है. आज भी कास्टिज्म आप यूपी में, महाराष्ट्र में, हर जगह देखते हो कि लोअर कास्ट आर ट्रीटेड बैडली. But his ideas still inspire people to carry that baton of hope. So Gandhiji has been one of the biggest influence in my life. Peter Diamandis, I've already told, I've gone deep into his life. Elon Musk, in his one of his interviews, he said that one line which always sticks with me: if it's important enough, then do it. Okay, so that one line sticks with me every time I feel ki okay, maybe I should give up YouTube or Instagram during those low phases of being a content creator. That one, and he's been a very big influence. The way he used his money which he got from selling PayPal, and the way he spent all the money for to create something new, something better, that inspired me a lot as well. That he was more attached to creating things rather than buying things. And recently he's selling off all his houses. And number 4 would be Steve Jobs. No, Steve Jobs. And I don't know if you have heard about it. Arvind Aikya. Arvind Aikya. Have you heard about Arvind Aikya? It's a huge. There is a link between Steve Jobs and Arvind Aikya Institute. So basically, Steve Jobs started Apple, and I forgot the name of the guy who started Arvind Aikya, but he started a huge eye operating hospital chain in India. And they both were driven by spirituality and the way they used spirituality to create businesses. Steve Jobs had nothing in his apartment, nothing in his flat, just a simple mattress. Like big apartment, he had nothing. He had no material aspirations. And in one of his interviews, he says that one of the gurus from India taught him that life is a flowing river and everyone is focused on taking something out of that river. But the main fulfillment is to put something into that river. And that is where everyone's focus should be, that life is a flowing river and what can you put into it. And again, Arvind Aikya Institute, there's a whole book on this, The Infinite Vision. Same principle. And that guy started Aikya Institute just by treating everyone for free. Ki jisko bhi cataract ki problem hai, I'll do free operation for you. And now it has become one of the biggest profitable eye hospital chains by starting on a free model. And how he did that, how things happened, it's a very wonderful story. And that book is really, really good. So these 5 people, basically.
When you first got into reading, you got quickly bored of reading fiction. This is something you mentioned in one of your recent videos. And that's when you switched to reading biographies of all these role models. So you started reading Mahatma Gandhi's biography by Ramachandra Guha, Elon Musk's biography, Barack Obama, and then Richard Branson, to name a few as well. And you said that's when you realize that there's more to life, and life is about creating something that can help others even after you've died. So in that spirit, what would you like your legacy to be like?
So basically, my vision is to have my own education system, which I leave behind, which is educating professionals as well as teenagers about karma yoga, how to focus on karma yoga. So, and the only way to do that is giving those people that environment where they are not constantly bombarded by advertisements. Previously there used to be that environment everywhere. Like, people used to read newspapers when there was no media, when there was no TV, when there was no phone, when there was no visual media. People used to read, people used to talk, and that environment automatically got created. And this was one of the biggest reasons behind Renaissance and all the scientific changes we saw in 18th and 19th century. And this is what I fear, that in future is going downhill because of that attention deficiency syndrome in majority of the population, where everyone is getting instant dopamine and they are not having those meaningful conversations. They are not focusing on work. They are more focused about buying new things. So I want to leave an education system behind through my libraries, courses, colleges, education system behind which teaches people, which picks people up. So basically, someone coming in who's completely materialistic and goes out as a karma yogi who's completely focused on his work and is doing what he loves courageously and contributing to the society. So
That's a
this
great
is what,
legacy to have.
yeah, but yeah, small steps, man. I don't know how. Again, Mahatma Gandhi's inspiration, that I want to be the biggest failure for a very big cause.
It's definitely a great way to live life, and that's a legacy that we look forward to. Daksh, I've had the honor of knowing you since 2012, and the Daksh that I met 9 years ago was very different from the Daksh that I see today. So, what I want you to do for this question is to really picture the 18-year-old Daksh and really picture what he was like, what he used to look like, how he used to think, how he used to feel at that point. And now that you have that picture in your mind, if you can go back in time, what advice would you give to 18-year-old Daksh, knowing what you know now?
Oh my God, that's a difficult question. What would I tell him?
Tough questions, tougher than Arnab Goswami. Starting में warning दी थी man.
What would I tell him? I would tell him, bro, start reading faster, start increasing your perspective, because it's very, very important. Because that time my perspective was very much controlled by the media. I was very influenced by media. Like, before coming to UK, I'm watching Desi Boys. Make some noise for the Desi Boys. And these two Indian guys in UK doing all kind of drama, and this was one of the inspirations. I was like, bloody hell. So change your perspective, read about different things, and start broadening your perspective. This is what I feel every teenager should do, so that by the time they are in their 20s, they can see things from different point of views. And I couldn't at that time. So I was very tunnel vision. But again, if you connect the dots, if I wouldn't have been tunnel visioned, I wouldn't have got the job or started reading or anything. It's like the paradox, that time travel paradox, no? But this is one advice I would give. Change your perspective, read different things, not just engineering.
Broaden your perspective, come out of your comfort zone so that you can meet MS Dhoni in Birmingham like you have.
Oh.
So,
उससे अलग
since
podcast
you have
होगा.
now spoken to so since you have now spoken to your past, it's only fair that you also speak to your future. So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Or another way of rephrasing this question would be, where would you be happy to see yourself? Not in the 10, then maybe the next 5 years.
In next 5 years, I would like to see myself as a writer and a good teacher, settled in India, living a normal life and creating impact through my writings and through my content to help people. So basically building the foundation for that education system, I said, but in India, not from UK. I see myself in India.
Sounds very exciting, and we look forward to that. Last question for you, Daksh. What do you think is the meaning of life?
I feel meaning of life is very simple. Elephant. When an elephant is born, the mom teaches her how to survive, and if the environment gets more difficult, the elephant improvises, and the baby elephant learns something new, and she teaches her baby something new. Similarly, for humans, is the same thing. We are trying to survive and live a more meaningful life. So learn something new and teach something new, to the coming generation so that they can live a better life.
That's a great meaning to have, Daksh. Daksh, thank you so much. It was an honor talking to you. If people want to connect with you, if they want to join your mentorship program, if they want to follow your channel, watch your videos, where can they do so?
Instagram, look for EAR Daksh. There's a reason behind it why I put EAR. But yeah, EAR Daksh, Daksh Jindal. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. And yeah, just connect with me anywhere. I reply to all the comments. I reply to all the DMs. So feel free to DM me. And I hope to see some of you guys there. And I hope you enjoy my content as well. And Shalaj, you are doing an amazing job as well. And your consistency and your variety is one of the reasons, why I did this podcast. So I really appreciate you for your consistency, man. You've been very consistent and you've been very patient. And the vision you told me कि why you are doing this is very good as well. कि professor से तो at least बात करने को मिल जाती है 2-2 घंटे. So that is a very, self-inspiring vision rather than a very outward motivated vision. So yeah, well done, man.